Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members and city officials, and also our home audience. Tonight we should be telecasting on Time Warner on Channel 24 along with Horizon on Channel 2. I'd like to welcome everybody to our March 14th City Council meeting. Tonight we have 11 items on our agenda. Mr. Schofield is filling in for Mr. Fawson. Mr. Schofield, would you continue with the roll call of members?
Carty.
Here.
Clay.
Here.
Corcoran.
Here.
Larima.
Here.
Gray.
Here.
Neal.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Roll.
Here.
Chapman. Here.
If everybody would, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Thank you. The minutes of the previous meeting have been distributed for review. Do we have a motion to, I hope you all reviewed them, do we have a motion to accept the minutes? Mr. Carty, seconded by Mr. Clay. Roll call on the motion to accept the minutes, please.
Carty.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Larima.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Roll.
Yes.
Chapman. Yes.
Thank you. At this time, we have our reports from committees. Anybody like to start? Mrs. Patrick?
First off, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Don Schofield as acting clerk.
I have a motion from Mrs. Patrick to have Mr. Schofield act as our clerk, seconded by Mrs. Gray. Roll call on that motion to accept Mr. Schofield.
Carty.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Larima.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Roll.
Yes.
Chapman. Yes.
Any other report? Yes, Mr. Tatman.
And while we're at it, we need to excuse our clerk. That's the reason why Mr. Schofield's here tonight. John Paulson is still recuperating.
Yes, he is, and I was going to report on that. He's doing fine. I have a motion seconded by Mr. Florima. Roll call on the motion to excuse Mr. Paulson this evening.
Carty.
Yes.
Clay.
Yes.
Corcoran.
Yes.
Larima.
Yes.
Gray.
Yes.
Neal.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
Roll.
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And that motion has passed. And on, yes, Mrs. Patrick?
Utilities Committee report. We've got one item on tonight's agenda. It's number 2, and it's the second reading of an ordinance appropriating funds for roof replacement at the water treatment plant, dome inspection, and bid plans and specs for recoating and repairing the 2 elevated tanks and 2 reservoirs. The legislation has 3 components. The first piece is $220,000 to replace the water plant roof. It's 25 years old, there's major leaks, the bid documents have been prepared, so the bid process can begin on this one. The second piece is $3,760 for an assessment of the dome cover on a reservoir and the condition and provide a recommendation for repair. The third piece is $13,000 to prepare a bid package and specifications for water tank and reservoir painting and coating. A bid packet needs created so that our elevated tanks, the one on West 5th and the one on State Route 159, can be repaired and recoated. The packet also will include specs and recoating of the 2 concrete reservoirs, both up on West Water Street. And the total appropriation is $236,760, and this money will come from the utility water fund and not the general fund. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Patrick. Mr. Carty?
Thank you, President Arnold. The Community Affairs Committee has 3 items on tonight's agenda. Agenda item number 9 is an agreement between the city and Ross County to provide indigent criminal defendants with counsel. This is an annual agreement and it's mostly a formality. This will not cost the city any more money. The money has already been budgeted in the annual budget, and this will go multiple readings. Agenda items number 10 and 11 are sort of a pair. Number 10 is an agreement between the city and the county to form a partnership to implement a fair housing choice study and to hire a consultant out of grant money. And at the appropriate time, I will ask that the 3-read rule be waived on this so that the county can go ahead and hire the consultant. Again, this is a regular agreement, fairly standard. Finally, agenda item number 11 is an agreement between the city and the county to apply for a grant for the CHIP program. And since the grant season is coming upon us, I will also ask that the 3-read rule be waived on this item. And the reason for going into a partnership with the county is that it lets the city become eligible for more grant money. If the county went alone, it would be a $300,000 eligibility, but since the city and the county are partnering on this agreement, we will be all eligible for $450,000. And I think Mayor Feeney will talk a little bit about both of these items in his report. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Carty. And Mrs. Corcoran?
Yes, the Park and Recreation Committee has one item on the agenda this evening, number 8. It would be for the granting the use of the city park and certain streets for the Feast of the Flowering Moon, and at the appropriate time, I will ask to waive the 3-read rule so that the feast and their committee can feel comfortable and go ahead booking people in for the festival. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Corcoran. Mr. Florina?
Safety Services has 3 items on the agenda. First is item number 3, which is the first reading, authorizing the Safety Service Director for bids and contracts of annual supplies and repair and maintenance of equipment for fiscal year 2016. It's an annual permission so that the new Safety Director will not be encumbered and they'll be able to manage a significant part of their job. It's for this reason, because they will be coming soon, hopefully, that I will ask at the appropriate time to waive the 3-read rule. Now, first reading of ordinance 4 and 5, they kind of go hand in hand. First is to approve the hiring of a full-time parking enforcement and appropriate up to $60,000 to cover expense of said enforcer. Initially, money would come from the unappropriated general fund and it would make its way to traffic control, a meter, regular salary hour, that would be the line item to pay for it. That ties into number 5, which is to amend section 3F3.1 regarding the parking violation fines. It's come to attention that fines are currently have been at $10 for a significant amount of time, and it is about time to make a little bit of a raise in advent of a lot of business downtown, so that we can have proper motion and flow of parking. For that reason, it has been decided to go ahead and raise the fee schedule. With this fee schedule increase and the approval of hiring a full-time parking enforcer to work not only downtown but for the town of Chillicothe, or city of Chillicothe I should say, they should be able to clearly pay for themselves, so it would not be a burden upon our general fund yearly. And those two will go all 3 weeks. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Florina. Mr. Clay?
Thank you, President Arnold. City Services has one item on the agenda, item number 1, which is up for a second reading tonight. This was a request from the Mayor's Office to appropriate $25,000 to be used for capital purchases, specifically related to ODOT and other auctions of service vehicles and equipment. The goal of this legislation is to replace our aging fleet of vehicles and older service equipment in the most cost-effective way possible. Last fall, the city used an auction site to purchase 3 snow plows and then outfitted them for roughly $40,000. That represents a savings to the taxpayer of more than $350,000. This appropriations will also prevent the grueling process of holding several emergency meetings and passing emergency legislation to facilitate such purchases, allowing us to be more proactive towards our city's needs while streamlining the purchasing process. There was a committee meeting to discuss this request on February 1st. There were no objections to move forward with this legislation at that time, and it will go all 3 readings. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Clay. Mr. Tappan?
Thank you, President Arnold. Engineering Committee has two items on the agenda tonight. Number 6, that was recommended by the state to change a portion of Western Avenue out towards, I'm trying to think before it gets to one of the restaurants out there in that new area. We go from 40, and then we go to 55, and then we get to Slate Mills and go to 45. So this will keep the smooth speed limit to go into that area, so that makes sense. And also, a no parking zone was requested down on the East 2nd Street, around the 300 block. And all we'll do on this area is mark it yellow, but we have to make an ordinance so we have it, so the police can find them if they park in that area. Also, the engineering committee will have a meeting at 7 o'clock on Wednesday evening, and we're going to cover two items. We're going to cover item 1628, and it's to change the alley adjacent to Tiffin School to two-way, and also number 1624, and we'll discuss South Watt Street between Main Street and 7th Street, considering restricting multi-axle traffic in that area. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Conlon. Any other committee reports? Mr. Kroll?
The Finance Committee has no items on tonight's agenda, but I do want to welcome our new auditor aboard on behalf of the Finance Committee. Crystal Spetnagel is joining us for the first time tonight.
Thank you.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Kroll. Any other committee reports before we move on? Next, we have reports from our officials. Our mayor, Mr. Luke Feeney.
Thank you, President Arnold. Comments on tonight's agenda. I too would support passage of item 3 tonight and support waiver of the 3-read rule. Item number 8, I will also support waiver of the 3-read rule. 10, so every so often we have to, as a recipient of CDBG grant money, the city and the county both are obligated to analyze impediments to housing. And sometimes in the past we've done that internally. This year we're combining with Ross County for efficiency. If we did it separately, there'd be costs, but since the city's within the county, the combination allows us to save some money. And of course, it's necessary to receive the grant money. So on that one, I would also support waiver of the 3-read rule. And then on item 11, again, this is an opportunity where we work with the county. We open ourselves up to significantly more money by cooperating with the county. And this is a partnership that we've done in the past. So I would also ask for your support in the waiver of the 3-read rule on item number 11. As some of you may have seen in the paper, we are getting very close to selecting and hiring a safety and service director. It has been a thorough and exhaustive process, but I'm very satisfied with the candidate pool and the talent that we've had come through. As most of you know, I've sort of put a priority on this position. I put several projects on hold. Councilwoman Neal had asked me about recycling and that sort of thing. I think it's very important to have this position in place before we go forward on much else of significance. So I would suspect and anticipate that before our next meeting that person will be selected and hired. So that's an exciting thing. And then I have two things that I'm very excited about. The first is the city is planning on offering transit service to Chillicothe Paints games this summer. I've been working with Transit Director Green, and in addition to local hotels, restaurants, and the paints themselves, we're going to make it, going to try and get some input from the public. So we're going to go on Facebook and do other surveys to try and allow the public to pick their favorite routes, the most useful routes. But the general idea will be that there will be a stop downtown, probably close to the parking lot at the top of the park, potentially the hotels on Bridge Street, potentially hotels on Main Street. But we're going to put it on Facebook and allow votes, and then I think by the next council meeting we'll have a route selected and we'll run it through ODOT. But I really look forward to that opportunity, a little entertainment route for people to come from Bridge Street to downtown, downtown to the game. And so just something fun to look forward to this summer. And last but certainly not least, I had the awesome privilege to visit Liberty Village today. Miss Sally Mae Ellis turned 109 today.
Nice.
And as far as we know, with our research, she is the person who has experienced the most birthdays in all of Chillicothe and Ross County. It was my honor to proclaim today Sally Mae Ellis Day in Chillicothe. So I would encourage all of Chillicothe to wish Mrs. Ellis a happy birthday. And if you're watching tonight down there at Liberty Village, happy birthday, Mrs. Ellis. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Feeney. Now a report from our auditor, who's new. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Mrs. Nagel.
I do not have a report tonight because, as you know, I'm very, very new. But I'm thankful to be working with such a great team in the auditor's office. The last couple of days, they've been very supportive, showing me the ropes. And I look forward to working with the county auditor, the mayor, and all of you to get caught up to speed.
Very good. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Glad to have you. And also our law director, Mrs. Rutherford.
Thank you, President Arnold. Besides wishing Sally Mae a happy birthday, I don't have anything else to report on. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Rutherford. Going on from that, as far as what I have to report, just a couple little things I'll briefly bring up. I'm announced earlier that we're being televised starting this evening with both cable companies. I think that's good. The equipment's antiquated. We're still working some bugs out, and I'm still getting used to the controls up here. So bear with me. It may get better, may not get any better, but we at least have it on. So we're working with it, and I've already given thanks to the Verizon people. I want to thank Harley with Time Warner for working with me to put this together. John Fawson, we excused earlier. He is recovering well to report. He is doing good, and I'm sure that we're all wishing him the best in a speedy recovery. I've also made an appointment that I need to have confirmed by council. I have made an appointment, or am requesting it, for Mr. Andrew Brown from the Huntington Bank to be part of the Income Tax Abatement Board. So if anybody would, I'd like to have a motion, Mr. Clay, and seconded by Mr. Florina, to accept Andrew Brown in that position. And roll call whenever you're ready.
Markey?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Florina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kroll?
Yes.
Tappan?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Brown at this time is on that board. At this point, we go to audience participation. We've implemented a sign-in sheet for public participation. I'm not sure, Mr. Davis, you're the only one on the sheet at this point. That's fine. Anyway, as your name's called, please step forward to the microphone. Council rule number 1 does limit each speaker to a 5-minute presentation with a total limitation of 15 minutes per subject. I will silently indicate when you have 1 minute by just kind of waving my finger at you. Should give you ample time to summarize your presentation. Anybody else that's not on the sheet that wishes to speak, just all you have to do is speak up and come up to the microphone and give your name and your address. That's for our records. Mr. Davis, I'll let you go from there and need your address.
Okay, my name's Alan Davis. I live at 370 Braywood. I happen to give you a little picture book today, and it starts at 370 Braywood, and it's a route that I travel very frequently on my way out to Route 35. So as I started driving it this winter, and I said, well, I decided to take some pictures, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Attached to it are 4 worksheets, 2 pages, front and back. The front of the first page is just a segment-by-segment status report from a 2013 street survey that the engineering department did. And I've tried to update it for like the latest Pyatt paving and stuff like that. So on the back side of it is probably the most important information. As you remember, back when we talked about the levy and all, I was pretty confident in what I said, but I believed that the levy was not going to be anywhere near sufficient to actually address our streets. The first part, the top part, is a schedule of, in 5-year increments of the age of the street segments based on when they were last repaved. And at the time of that survey, over 75% of the square footage of the streets was at or above their useful life. 60% was at or above 20 years since it had last been repaved. So I went back through those segments, assuming that the 45% of the streets, if we're actually able to do that over the next 10 years, the last year and the next 9 years, I assumed that those would address the oldest streets. But then, over a 10-year period, streets age. And so I came up with what the segments would be at the end of that 10-year paving, and we'd still have well over 50% of our streets that were at their useful life or above. So I think it may be time to do that study that council was given the assignment to do back in 2014, and to take a more detailed look at our streets and say, what would it take to bring them up to speed, or up to a good condition, and what does it take on an annual basis to maintain them? On the back of the the second page, at the very bottom, I just did some real quick calculations. And it says, repaving, if we have 12 million square feet that the city's responsible for, and it's only supposed to last 15 years, that means we gotta do 800,000 square feet a year. Now, how much dollars, I don't know, but that's what needs to be built into a plan. But we have new streets. We've added quite a few streets up in Naples Orchard, which I think we're responsible for, but I'm not positive. And so it's actually going to take more than 800,000. And then crack sealing. If you look through the pictures, and I was really surprised, most of the segments it appeared had never been crack sealed. And our engineering, city engineer says that you really need to crack seal within the first 5 years to get your useful life. And it wouldn't hurt if we could crack seal in additional time as more cracks appear. So if you were going to crack seal or seal cracks, you don't want to crack the seal, you want to seal the cracks. If you do it twice in the 15-year useful life, that means we need to do 2 million square feet of crack sealing. So I just have a concern that while it's the city service department's doing a good job filling some potholes, but a filled pothole, as bad as our streets are, doesn't really address the issue, and then and that this 10-year street paving isn't going to get the job done. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Does anybody else in the audience would like to address council? Yes, please. Just if you would give your name and your address, please.
Would you like me to sign in?
Yeah, you don't have to, just name and address. is
Okay,
fine.
Nancy Myers, 39 West 4th Street. So I'm here because I'm concerned about the rehiring of the law enforcement or the parking enforcement. So, and I'm all for that guy being hired. That's a great position, and I think it's necessary. But we have meters on 4th Street, and it's very difficult getting along with those meters. I myself had $500 worth of parking tickets, over the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I lived in my house on 4th Street and, for parking in front of my own house. Contractors that come work on my house get tickets. Friends that come visit, if they forget to go feed the meter, they get tickets. Pet sitter, if I go on vacation, if they forget to keep feeding the meter, tickets. It's just ridiculous. So I would really, really rather see these meters go. They're an eyesore. It's embarrassing having them in front of my house. And I'll probably be selling my house in the next few years. I think that's going to make it more difficult to sell. And I would just ask that you consider removing those meters. They're a pain in the rear end. Parking's not been a problem in the years that they've not been active. And now, when this guy's rehired, or gal, it's just going to be tickets up and down the street again. So, and parking passes aren't the issue, because it's very easy to go on vacation and forget to leave a parking pass for the pet sitter, or remember to leave them with the contractor who's working on your house when you get up and go to work. So, you know, those people all get tickets, and then those are given to me and expected that I pay those. So it's passed on to me one way or another. And it's, like I said, parking for the last few years that we've not had those meters enforced has not been an issue. I am a little bit lucky now. I have a garage to park in that I didn't have a few years ago. And but that still doesn't make it hard on people who visit me or park out in front of my house. And yes, when I moved into that house, I knew that there were meters out front. So, but I never dreamed that it would be the nightmare that it was. So it was a pain in the rear end, and I had to go to court over $300 worth of those tickets when I finally got tired of getting the tickets. And they were dismissed, but still got nailed with court costs. So it was almost as much as the tickets. But anyway, I'd really like to see the meters go. I don't think there's a reason for them to be there. And if they don't go, then I think the whole town should have meters on every residential street. So I just think it's kind of, you're picking on 2 blocks out of the whole city, and you're putting meters in front of our homes. We're all taxpayers. I own a business in Chillicothe, so I'm kind of a double taxpayer. And yet I'm nitpicked over parking in front of my house, or my friends coming to park. So I think, you know, if they're gonna stay on West 4th Street, let's take them over 1 block and have them on West 5th Street. And see how the residents on that block like it. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Myers. Anybody else would like to address council? Sure, sir. Just name and address, please.
My name is Carl O'Shuley, and I live on 25 West 4th Street. Everything Nancy said is accurate. She wrote a letter to you folks some period ago, and the experiences are there. I don't mind paying taxes. I don't mind having a parking attendant, guy that can go around and make sure that cars are moving and they're not staying in one location for very long. But it's a burden to put these meters on 2 blocks on our properties and not consider the rest of the city as part of the whole way to collect revenue. It's just not fair. We're paying for people to park downtown, and we have to buy passes to do that. I could tell you many experiences over the past years when the parking guy was there, and there was no really discussing it with the man. When I moved in, there were no meters on there. The heads were all off. Within 3 weeks of me moving in, they had put the heads back on. So it's unfair to charge us to pay to park in front of our own homes and not do the same thing to everybody else. So if you're going to do this, why not charge everybody $15 more a year in the whole town? You need money that badly, why not just charge everybody $15 or $20 more a year so they can park in front of their own homes? And this I'll say too. This gentleman here is talking about paved roads. We have mail trucks, semi-trucks go up and down that street. Drive down 4th Street and hit a few potholes. And now you're asking us to pay to park in front of our own homes. This is not right. The street needs paved, And I shouldn't have to pay to park in front of an unpaved street that has a bunch of potholes in it. And that's all I'm gonna say about it, but that's the reality. It's not fair to those of us that live on that street, and it should be reconsidered, or considered in a more logical way. And one other thing, how many of you have been to the district up in Columbus, the Arena District? Where are the meters? They're in the Arena District. The businesses have those meters in their areas. It makes perfect sense. You're gonna get more money, collect more money in revenue if those meters are in the business district. I know your business people aren't gonna like to hear that, but if it's a dollars and cents issue, then you should seriously consider it from that standpoint. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to address council? Sure, sir. Come on up. If you would, just give your name and your address, please.
My name's Mark Johansson. I live on 35 West 4th Street between Carl and Mesa. I agree with what they said too, but the one thing I like to do before Lisa asked, or Carl asked me to come, Nancy asked me to come here tonight, and before I came here, I took a couple minutes, I just kind of drove around the blocks. And I noticed that when we put angle parking in on Paint Street, we removed the signal, or the heads, removed those heads until we got to the 5th Street and goes to the library. Basically, there are meters that are in place. There's 12 meters in place right in front of the library area. And the way I see it, and there's handicap parking right in front of the library, but those other spots are kind of good for elderly people and people, other people that, can't get along very well. And, why would you want to discourage people from basically going to the library? That's where 12 of the meters are. We removed all the meters for the angle parking, which the businesses, and I don't, and basically on 4th Street is basically the only place that we have meters. The rest of the places in town have a 2-hour parking from 8:30 to 4:30 during business weekdays, Monday through Friday. I understand that. Try to keep the parking moving, people moving so people can go to businesses. But to say all that, I mean, we basically, that is mostly a residential street, the 4th Street where the meters are at. From Walnut Street, up to Paint Street and the other way east, up to Mulberry, those streets through there, I mean, right through that area, I mean, the vast majority of people that live there are just, like I said, residents, businesses. So really, I don't understand, we're removing meters on, on the where the businesses are at, and we're leaving heads in where residential parking's at. Like they said too, I mean, I don't really, as far as parking goes, I don't see that there's a lot of issues in parking there. I mean, people keep moving through that area. I just don't see, like I said, the revenue that we generated in that area, like I said, I can't see that that's gonna make or break the whole community. But that's pretty much where I'm at too.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to address council? Not seeing so, we'll move on to old business. Does anybody have any old business they'd like to bring up? Okay, not seeing anybody with old business. Petitions and correspondence received by the clerk?
We have not received any this week.
Okay, very good. Moving on to new business. Does anybody have any new business they'd like to bring up? Yes, Mr. Curtis.
Thank you, President Arnold. Just sitting here listening to the residents on West and East 4th Street, I'd just like to briefly respond and say it does seem unfair that the meters are in front of a residential area, in front of your house, and I would be willing to take a look and a further study of those meters and maybe come to some sort of compromise as we engage in a further comprehensive downtown parking enforcement plan. I think you all raised some very valid points. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Anybody else with any other new business? Yes, Ms. Patrick. Mrs.
I'd just
Patrick.
like to make a comment on hiring of the parking enforcer for $60,000. At this point in time with the city, we need to take that $60,000 and put it towards a police officer. That would pay for an officer through the rest of the year. Our crime has just gone through the roof. I know people want a parking enforcer in the downtown, but the police officer would serve everybody. Currently, we have no nuisance enforcement. We had to put the nuisance officer on the street, which is fine, that's where he should be, but at the same time, spring is coming. All these council members are gonna get a ton of complaints. So I just wanted to put it out there right now that at this point, I just can't support that. I have no problem raising the parking fines, but, yeah, buying a parking enforcer for $60,000, can't do it.
Thank you, Mrs. Patrick. Mr. Clay?
And I'm not opposed to the parking enforcement plan that we have, that we're looking at right now. I'm not opposed to raising the fees, but I brought this up in committee, and I think it's worth bringing up again now. We need to make sure that we're not just rushing. I know warm weather's coming, and I know that we want to have something in place before we start seeing more traffic downtown, but clearly we have an issue where we're impacting people around the community, and I think that we need to make sure that we're taking the time to really look at what we're doing and understand the decisions that we're making, how it's impacting people, and at least find a way that we can mitigate that negative impact before we move forward. I think that's worth council taking a look at. I think that's why we're here, is to not only help development in the city, but also to take care of the residents of Chillicothe.
Thank you, Mr. Clay. Mrs. Gray?
I agree. I'm not against the hiring of the parking enforcer, but at this point in time, I think that when the assignment was originally made, we were not in the position that we're in currently with the police department. And the fact that we are not meeting our minimum manning, and we need to make sure that that's taken care of first before we look at the parking enforcement issue.
Thank you, Mrs. Gray. Mr. Florina?
I would agree, absolutely, with the concerns of the residents on 4th Street. I would also agree with my fellow council people. And this is one of the reasons why we've gone to 3 reads. There is no reason for this to be pushed through. We did have 2 committee meetings on this, and we do welcome input, because that's how we actually get things done correctly. We don't want to make mistakes, and again, this is why I found it important to not try to rush anything through. Not only will it go, there was no emergency language on it, so it would be 30 days after. You know what I mean? So I've tried, as far as our committee is concerned, to make the process as long as possible so that we don't run headlong into something, because the last thing we want to do is upset citizens and do things incorrectly. If things need to be, they're things that need to be addressed and to be looked at again, we do have the time to do it. So that's why, of course, many times you'll find in previous councils, there was always a rush to do things. And I think with this administration and with this council, we're in agreement for a lot of things. With anything that can take time, we will take the time. So you are heard, and we'll see what we can do to address those things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Florina. Anybody else have a comment or anything, new business to bring up? Yes, Mrs. Corcoran?
I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. I don't have an assignment number, but I'm been told that I'm probably going to be receiving one. So I just, I will be sending out a notification tomorrow, but the meeting will be Wednesday at 4:30 across the street, on March 16th. And this is not official, but I just wanted to let some people know it because it will only be a 24-hour notice. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Corcoran. Anybody else? Yes, Mrs. Gray?
I said I don't have that yet. I won't have that till tomorrow. But I just want to give people a heads up because it will only be a 24-hour notice. So I hate to do that.
To the point of the meeting, though.
I don't have all that yet. But I just have heard there will be assignments coming tomorrow.
She's Parks and Recreation Committee.
Yeah,
So there's work that needs to be done on the bridge, there's other appropriations, I just wanna lump them
Okay.
together.
Thank you.
But that's not official until it comes out in the memo
Correct.
tomorrow. That's the point. Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Gray?
Just very quickly, going back to the citizens who spoke with regards to the parking, and knowing that council does hear you and that there is a parking committee within the Downtown Development Commission. And I know that they're looking at parking and being able to address some of the issues as they come up. And I'm sure that this will come before them as they're moving forward and being able to say, okay, how can we look at this and address this properly to make sure that the residents are penalized and it's agreeable enough.
Just for information, we do have a standing member of council that is on that downtown development committee. Mrs. Neal, right?
Yes.
Yes. And
Mr. Tapman.
and Mr. Tapman, both, so both of them will, I'm sure, give their input to the meeting next time that it meets, which won't be until later this month, I think. Is that correct? Yeah.
There was just a meeting.
Just had a meeting.
Just had a meeting.
Towards
Early
last month.
last week.
Yeah.
There'll be another one.
Yeah. Any other, anybody else have anything to add? Not seeing that, at this point, we have committee assignments and meeting dates. I'll be honest with you, I did not have any committee assignments since the last meeting. We had three weeks, so it's kind of been slow. As Mr. Tapman had mentioned, meeting dates, he has an engineering committee meeting, which will be Wednesday, the 16th, 7 o'clock, and that's going to be here in chambers here. And CO is going to have a Parks and Rec meeting Wednesday, also the 16th at 4:30. And that's going to be across the street in the first floor conference room. Not seeing anything else, we move to legislation. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Schofield. Item number 1.
An ordinance appropriating $25,000 to be used for capital purchases specifically related to ODOT auctions and other auctions of service vehicles and service equipment. Second reading.
Okay. Item number 2.
An ordinance appropriating funds for roof replacement of the water treatment plant, dome inspection and bid plans and specs for recoating and repairing 2 elevated tanks and 2 reservoirs and declaring an emergency. Second reading.
Okay. Item number 3.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the safety service director to advertise for bids or enter contracts for annual supplies and maintenance and repair of the equipment required by the city of Chillicothe, Ohio for fiscal year 2016 and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Mr. Florina.
For the reasons stated in my report earlier, I request or move that the 3-read rule be waived.
Have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mr. Clay. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Maria?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Roll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
We've waived the 3-read rule. Now roll call on the ordinance, please.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Roll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
And that ordinance has passed. Item number 4, please.
An ordinance approving the hiring of a full-time parking enforcer and appropriating $60,000 to cover the cost of salary and fringes. First reading.
Item number 5.
An ordinance amending section 3.10 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chillicothe. First reading.
Moving on, item number 6.
An ordinance establishing 45 miles per hour as a prima facie speed limit on a specific section of Western Avenue, US Route 50. First reading.
And item number 7.
An ordinance providing for no parking designation in the area of 300 East Second Street within the city of Chillicothe, Ohio. First reading.
And item number 8.
A resolution granting use of the city park and surrounding streets from Wednesday, May 25, 2016 to 5:30 p.m. through Monday, May 30th, 2016 at 12 noon for preparation and operation of the annual Feast of the Flowering Moon and providing for coordination of its events with the city Parks and Recreation Department and declaring emergency. First reading.
Mrs. Corcoran.
Thank you, President Arnold. At this time, I would like to ask to waive the 3-read rule.
I have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mrs. Patrick. Roll call on the motion, please.
Carty?
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Roll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
The motion for the 3-read rule is passed. Roll call on the ordinance, please.
Carty?
Resolution.
Yes.
Clay?
Yes.
Corcoran?
Yes.
Marina?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Neal?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Roll?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
And that resolution has passed. Number 9.
An ordinance providing for an agreement between the city of Chillicothe, Ohio and the Ross County Commissioners, whereby the city of Chillicothe, Ohio will continue to be eligible for state reimbursement of costs incurred in appointing counsel for criminal defendants and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Okay. Item number 10.
An ordinance accepting the partnership agreement between the city of Chillicothe and Ross County for the TY 2016 analysis of impediments of fair housing choice study AI and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Mr. Cote,
Thank you, President Arnold. For the reasons stated in my report, I make a motion to waive the 3-read rule.
we have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mr. Kroll. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule, please.
Carty,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
We have a motion to waive the 3-read rule passed, and roll call on the ordinance, please.
Carty,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And the last item, number 11.
An ordinance accepting the partnership agreement by and between the city of Chillicothe and Ross County for the PY 2016 Community Housing Impact and Preservation Program CHIP and declaring an emergency. First reading.
Mr. Carte?
Thank you, President Arnold. So that the city and county can be eligible for increased grant funding in a timely manner, I would like to move to waive the 3-read rule at this time.
I have a motion to waive the 3-read rule, seconded by Mr. Florina. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Carty,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
That motion is passed. Roll call on the ordinance, please.
Carty,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
And that ordinance is passed. Unless anybody has anything else to add, this concludes our business for the evening, and we have a motion for adjournment from Mr. Florina and seconded by Mr. Clay. Roll call on the motion to adjourn.
Carty,
Yes.
Clay,
Yes.
Corcoran,
Yes.
Florina,
Yes.
Gray,
Yes.
Neal,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Kroll,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yes.
Folks, you are adjourned.